when it comes to the right wing, I think we need to be a little bit cautious with our rhetoric. Let me explain what I mean by this, right? What the right does, like the media, politicians, is, of course, they use fear to motivate their base, right? Breaking news, but just hear me out. When it comes to our brain, whenever we're fed a lot of fear, that lights up our amygdala. And for the right, for the true believers, right? We're not talking about those that lie to their audience. But for them, that is what is lit up all the time. So what happens is that little by little silences or inhibits the areas of our brain that are responsible for critical thinking, for reasoning, for thinking logically, having empathy for others, etcetera, etcetera. So that is why when you try to shame a conservative, call them a racist, whatever insult you want to throw at them, it just does not fit. Because for them, more than anything, they are afraid. They feel an immediate threat from the left, and for them, that is the most important thing at the front of their mind, right? But what's your take on that?
Are you talking about when you're talking to a person one-on-one, or are you talking about just rhetoric in general?
Sure, yeah. Either one-on-one, maybe on Twitter, maybe in a debate. Let me give you an example. One thing that was perfect.
I think on one hand, I think you're probably right, but I think if you're saying that this is in some way leads to something prescriptive, I would just say to you, have you ever watched any significant amount of right-wing media? Because the absence of somebody calling somebody a racist is in no way a way in which to disarm conservatives, because their media is 3 steps ahead of anything that you or I could say.
What do you mean by that? I'm not sure.
I mean, they will make it up. I mean, look, listen, Jordan Peterson's a perfect example. We were just talking about him. What happened with Jordan Peterson? I'm not going to call them that person by that pronoun. And now you're saying I'm transphobic because I won't do it? I mean, they don't need someone to say you're racist or transphobic for them to believe that they're being called racist or transphobic, both as an individual or as like a group. It is they.
Oh no, I agree.
The aggrievement. There is also an aggrievement machine inside them. That.
Oh no, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, 100%, for sure.
Okay, so if I stipulate that yes, when you call someone a racist, the winning the argument becomes harder. So what?
No. Not that it becomes harder, but that if you want to, that's fine, right? We know what they are. There's no denying it at all. But if we're actually trying to grow the movement and try to convince people, then whenever we are talking to somebody, let's say one-on-one, right? And they do say something that's just completely wild. If I'm just going to call them a racist, I'm just going to end the conversation there, and then they're going to walk away still feeling righteous, right? A perfect example was Ben Burgess.
Listen, I think it's okay to do that one-on-one, but if there's somebody else watching and that person is somewhere, it is not, is not as racist as the person you're talking to, I think there's some value in it. Because I mean, and that's my sort of theory with this, is that, people are like, that libertarian caller you had on, what's the point of it? You didn't convince them of anything. But I'm not debating these people because I want to convince that individual. I'm debating these people so I can expose to other people what their ideology leads to. Because, I mean, look at Josh Hawley going on Hannity's show and saying, they're trying to, convince people that Roe v. Wade is important, or that something new has changed, or that, this is racist or that is racist. if I'm debating Josh Hawley, I'm not debating Josh Hawley because I want to change Josh Hawley's mind. I am trying to expose where their ideology leads to, what problems it causes, and where it naturally goes. And so I agree with you. If I'm talking to one person alone and saying, I'm not going to say to them, you're a racist. I may say what you just said is racist. And I might say to them, I don't think you're a racist. But if I'm standing in a group of people and somebody says that, I might handle it, in a similar fashion, but I'm not going to be as worried about alienating that individual because my power is not going to come from that person. My power is going to come from the other people who are observing what's going on.
No, right. That's why I was saying at the beginning, this does not apply to like media figures and politicians, because of course they know what they're doing. They know they are misleading others. But my point is that if we're actually trying to get more, and I agree, you're in a group of people and they're being disgusting, yeah, call that out, of course. But generally speaking, whenever we do want to discuss issues and actually go in with some substance, we can talk to them in a way that will minimize their fears. And that is when people will be able to listen to us a little more. And yes, I'm talking about like an audience, right? Not the person we're debating, but the audience in general, because they're afraid. That's why they think immediately of the kids and then the masks and the CRT, whatever. It scares them so much. But whenever you do,
I know that, but I can tell you this, that like, we don't have the ability more often than not to make them not afraid. I have referred to these people as having a Masada complex for 20 years because it doesn't matter what it is. They will come up with a new thing to be afraid of. This is what feeds their movement. It's aggrievement. And that aggrievement exists because there is someone coming for them. There's someone coming for their way of life. And that exists. Right. That is endemic in their sensibility, and it is fed to them by a well-funded right-wing media machine. And so what I'm suggesting is there is 30 to 40% of the population out there whose value in engaging is, and I'm not saying on a personal level, your family members or this and that. I'm just saying, like, if you're talking about it from a political standpoint, the value is to convince other people to get more, to understand the threat they represent to our society. And there may be, nicer or better ways, but I'm not there to make them feel less afraid, because frankly, that's a Pyrrhic enterprise. That is futile. That's the way they are. That's why they respond to whatever is thrown out on any given week. That's why, that's why a guy named Tucker McNear Swanson Carlson, who has, went to St. George's prep school and got every job he ever got because his father was a right-wing operative. That's why he can go up there and be an everyman, because they're eating this stuff up. And so, we can expend energy on trying to keep these people from feeling upset, but it's wasted energy. I appreciate the call.
Well, all right, thank you.
I mean, I'm not saying that we should be rude or you should be rude or you should necessarily write off everybody. Yes, do your best. But and yes, going at somebody is going to make them feel fear. Sometimes you got to decide whether it's appropriate or not, or whether you have the stomach to do that or not. But as a political, political prescription, the value of interacting with some of these people is really just to show other people, to expose them. Like, there are people out there who you're not going to convince.
Yeah. And also, you're going to unconvince a lot of people if you just have amiable conversations with confirmed racists.
Again, we've talked about this with Digby. People need to see your reaction. When you're talking about convincing people, your reaction indicates to those other people, what's going on here. So, Zabadude, counterpoint. Maximize right-wing fear whenever possible to cause a rise in agoraphobia amongst their base. There you go.